So let's get used to this. Of course, this is another step to safeguard ourselves. And Linda, Darlene, we really appreciate your efforts to set this up. Let's go is Jim Oswald on?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, great.
Jim, let's go ahead with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay, I won't have you stand up, but please follow me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America,
and to the republic
for which it
stands
one
one
nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jim.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's go. Next step is a sad one, a moment of silence for our LEF notables who have passed in the last quarter. Deep breath. Don Stanaway, former longtime executive director. Doug Weber, past president exemplar and my sponsor into LEF years ago. And Jim Goodhart, a former trustee. Okay, let's take a few moments off. All right, let's have a invocation. Curtis, please. Curtis, I know I saw you somewhere.
Yeah, can everybody hear me now?
Yeah. There.
Oh, okay. So if everybody would just bow their heads for a moment. Gratitude during this global pandemic event in our lives. Gee, we're grateful for the loved ones that have passed on for whatever impact they had on our lives. Or we receive all the love for those around us near and far during this pandemic. A, we keep a positive attitude that the world would change for the betterment of humanity. T, we take this time to reflect and appreciate all that we have in our lives. U, we understand that we are not alone. And D, we do what is needed to continue on with the work that we are all meant to do. And E, we enjoy life and each other. I'd ask that we all take time to write out our own thoughts on gratitude. Everyone, please stay safe until we are all able to meet again in person. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Curtis. Dennis Meermans, time for the roll call.
Okay, gladly. If we could unmute everyone so they can respond. And if everyone would please try to keep quiet so I could hear the responses. Thank you. Start with President Mike Rogalski.
Here.
First Vice President, Dr. Leela Chin.
Here.
Second Vice President, Russ Custer. Secretary Dennis Meermans. Treasurer Pat Casey Gillum.
Here.
Executive Director John Posey.
here.
Program Director Mark Paskvan.
Here.
Pacific Vision Foundation CEO Ellen Jameson.
Here.
Oh, good.
Trustees Jan Ahern. Cliff Cooper.
Here.
Kelby Hargrave.
Here.
Dr. David Hoskins.
Here.
Al Kroll.
Here.
Mike Matthews.
Here.
Ortiz Poon.
Here.
Linda Pugliese.
Here.
Sandra Stevens. Pat Casey Gillum.
Here.
Russ Custer. Jamie Hart. Sandy Egay.
Dennis?
Yes.
Jamie is working today.
Okay. Christy Kroll.
Here.
Dennis Meermans is here. Jerry Price. John Roback. I thought John was here. All right. Gene Weatherby.
Here.
Dr. Leila Chin is here. Linda Griffin,
Here.
Tony Hong,
Here.
Yvonne Cantola,
I'm here.
Esther Lee,
Here.
Roy Patterson,
Here.
Joe Pugliese.
Here.
Was that a here?
He's here.
Okay. Smitty Smith. We had an opportunity to mute him. Virgil Williams.
Terrible.
Virgil? Okay.
They're trying to log in, Medi and Virgil. So I think they will be here.
Okay. Okay, past presidents exemplars. Roger Dodge. Steve Layden.
Here.
Lou Malani. John Schroeder. Fred Summer.
Here.
Hey,
Advisor.
no. Sky, get out.
Pat Enchetta. Melinda Blaza.
I thought
Edie Byrne.
Here.
Duke Dunham.
Here.
Terry Dunham.
Here.
Burl Geesh. Dee Heller. John Hui. Arnold Calvans. Darlene Candler.
Here.
Charlene Lewis. Marvin Miller.
Here.
Dennis Melinda.
Raymond Oliver.
Here.
Dr. Jim Oswald.
Here.
Phyllis Rogers.
Here.
John Smith.
Here.
Jerry Stasko. Mariah Tucker.
Here.
Don Watson.
Here.
Gloria Watson.
Here.
Anisha Young. Trustees Emeritus. Sue Carner. Liz Crook.
Here.
Dr. Ron Hammer. Don Kiang.
Here.
Sam Lerner.
Here.
Maureen Moore. Dennis Neal. Patricia Neal. Lillette Conoy. Frank Seidel. Tom Stark. Gene Westcott. Larry Wong. Advisors Emeritus Sigrid Engelin. Leila Johnson. Tom Ludden. And past Executive Director Emeritus John Schroeder is here.
Still
That is all.
Dennis, Dennis, I see that Medi Malati and Virgil just logged in, and also Melinda Blaza was trying to log in, but I don't see her. But I think she was trying to log in.
I saw her name earlier.
Yeah.
I'm Nancy Hanson and I'm an honorary member.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. So besides Nancy, is there anyone aboard that whose name I did not call?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm Stan Weitzman. I'm a guest of Linda
Stan Weiss.
Weitzman.
We're Maureen Powers and Gary Miner, guests of Don Kiang.
It's Maureen
And Gary Miner.
That's Dr. Maureen, correct?
Correct, thank you.
Marie Dollar.
the Powers are in what district?
4C3.
Montclair.
That's C3.
And Stan, what district are you in?
4C6.
He's gonna ask.
Now I'm going to ask if there are any corrections to the minutes from the January meeting in Aptos. And it would have been nice to have everyone muted, but if anybody has any comments, go ahead. Thank you very much.
And we're going to mute everybody except for the speaker can unmute themselves.
Who is the speaker?
Okay, do we have the corrections, any corrections to the minutes for January Aptos meeting?
If you do, you can click the yes or no button, yes button if you have a correction.
Okay, hearing no corrections, we'll move straight to the staff reports. Mark Paspan, Program Coordinator, you're on.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Morning, everyone.
Morning.
So let's start out directly with the stats. Did everybody have those that were sent out? I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the stats. There were 69 surgeries. That is a little low. There were only 10 in March. And that's unusual. And that, of course, is totally because the clinic was closing down at that point at the end. There, in terms of referrals, we did very well. We had 108 referrals, and it was consistent across the board from January through March. It was 36 a month. I wanted to go next into, instead of talking about stats, talking about what our plan is. We've been talking about a plan. And these are just kind of the highlights of what we've been talking about. So once the state and Sutter gives us permission to once again schedule patients to be seen, to get back to somewhat normal, the clinic, the plan is at present is to pre-screen every patient by phone prior to them coming in, asking them a series of questions that will determine whether we're going to see them or do it by telemedicine. The next would be to take temperature checks at the door, which we're already doing, and that will be for anybody that comes into the clinic. Next would be to limit the number of family members that come into the clinic. We would prefer that it be just the driver or one family member, and that they limit it to that. And that's a big change for our patients because right now the patients bring up to five people with them. We would stagger appointments. That means we will have less patients in the clinic, but it also means we can do the social distancing and we can keep patients safe and reduce crowding. And we're going to try to have the residents be very mindful of the fact that once a patient arrives, we need to see them quickly. So that's pretty much the clinic. What we're going to be looking for surgery is a whole nother thing. So surgery will be obviously, again, state and Sutter. Sutter has to get their ASCs back up and running. Currently, the ASC on the Pacific campus is not open and will not be opening again for a while. The state has leased that building, and the lease is for 6 months. Whether they renegotiate that or not is unclear to us. But at present, we will be probably only place we'll be doing surgeries is on the Van Ness campus. That's the new hospital, just 4 blocks from where we are. So the goal here is to identify the patients that need surgery, and we've already done that. We're going to screen them by phone. We're going to block them, get our block time back, and identify who the attendings are. And we've already been working on all these things. We need to be flexible. And so our surgical time may be on weekends, on evenings. We're not sure about that yet, and we propose that to the hospital. We do have a backlog. The 2 primary ones are cataracts, which is about 30 patients. And those 30 patients, I figure, will take between 3 2 to 4 months to clear up, depending on how quickly and how much block time we can get. In retina, we have about 27 patients, and at 5 a month, that's going to be probably 8 months to get through that backlog. There's backlog in other areas, but those are the 2 primary ones that we're looking at right now. So that's our plan in terms of reopening. We're looking at starting possibly this coming month in May. We're not sure when that will take place, and again, we need the state to approve it. So those are the areas right now. Some people have asked me what's going on. We have sent some information out about the clinic. Currently, we are open. We are taking referrals. We're covering emergency rooms. We're covering some private practices that are closed. And when I say we, I should be saying the residents are doing this and that coming through the clinic. And we're also taking care of patients that are being referred to us from community clinics, which are still open. The patients right now, but quite limited. And a lot of it can be done by phone, but we do have patients coming in that are urgent, and urgent in this case would be high pressures, glaucoma, for any kind of retina, patients that need injections. We're still doing injections on Mondays. I think this coming Monday has 15 patients coming in for injections. That's a high number for one day currently. Some days it's it's as limited as 1 patient, and other days we have obviously up to 15. So that's where we are right now. And we're working with the hospital, we're working with the doctors. Dr. Denny and Dr. Eliassi have been meeting to discuss these things. And we're just getting the plan ready. So when we do get the go-ahead, we're ready to go. So if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
It looks like John has a question.
Yes, Mark, what's going on with hotel rooms and how is that going to be coordinated in this new procedure?
So the motel is still open. There's 4 motels that we use. The owner owns 4 of them on, what street is that? Lombard Street. And he closed 3 of them. So the only one that's currently open is the Coventry, and that's the one that we use. We are still putting patients there. We had 3 patients there last week. And so that hasn't actually been a problem at all. They've been incredibly easy to deal with. And I had lunch with the manager of all 3. And we've worked out a plan in terms of they feel more comfortable that we're screening these patients prior to them coming in from out of town. And we've been working on how they can be isolated at the motel so that they're not all on top of each other. They can spread them out on different floors. They're not very busy. There's never that many people down there. So I think the last time it was only our patients plus 1 other person. So that's where we are. Does that kind of answer what you were asking?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, David Hoskins has a question.
I don't know how that got turned on, and I didn't say I had one.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
I've got a question. I did the raise hand thing. I don't know if you can see it. Mark, are you working from home, or are you and Connie working from home, or how does that work?
Currently, I am working mainly from home. The hospital had requested that we flex in terms of what we're doing in the clinic, only essential people being there. And also part of the flexing is for people that are non-essential to take more vacation time. So I've been working 50% hospital and 50% I'm on vacation time.
Oh. So
I go in to do checks, and I usually spend the weekend there. I didn't go in yesterday, but last weekend I was there on Saturday and Sunday. And the rest of the time I'm here answering emails and phone calls. Connie is working full-time yet. She doesn't have as much vacation time, and it would be a little bit harder for her. So she has been taking all the phone calls. So all the phones are forwarded to her cell phone. And currently she is covering anything that's going on. She doesn't go into the office as frequently either. She goes in about once, at the most twice a week. And normally it's if there's a patient having surgery. And we have been averaging one patient surgery per week, and those are emergencies.
Okay.
Okay, Dr. Maureen has a question.
Yes, yes. I'm wondering what happens with patients who do have a high temperature or who do have some symptoms. Do you have a plan for managing them or what to do with them?
Currently, they can't come into the clinic, that's for sure. The other is we ask them to, if they have a doctor, to get a test. I don't have an answer for actually if we've even had anybody. I do not believe we've had anybody as of present. But there is a system in place where we would get them tested, or we would give them information about how they should be isolating themselves, and that the 14 days of quarantine. So the doctors are handling that.
Great,
I don't
thank
have any
you
more
very-
information about that because I don't think we've actually had one.
That's good. Thank you.
Past President John Schroeder.
Okay, I had another question, Mark. Are you doing additional cleaning and prep for the rooms, and who's paying for that? Is that something the foundation is incurring, or is Sutter picking that up, or what?
Sutter's picking it all up. We've always been, because it's a clinic and because of how we run, after every patient, we've always disinfected every room and every piece of equipment and every lens. That's just been our standard.
What about
Now it's just a little more intense. Now they're wiping down the seating, the walls, the doors, the handles. Anywhere a patient may go, anywhere staff may go, gets wiped down every 15 minutes. And there's one person 8 hours a day. That's their whole job.
Okay, and masks, are they?
Everybody's masked. I wear a mask the whole time I'm there too, even though I'm in the back.
Okay, thanks.
Masks, gloves. They put up plastic shields on the exam, all the exam equipment. So there's plastic shields for the ODS on all their equipment. And when you're doing an exam and a patient's in a chair, there's a separation between the doctor and the patient now with a piece of plastic, plexiglass.
You know, people might be interested in seeing those kind of steps that we're taking. Do you think we can get some photos and put them on our Facebook page and let them know that we're still operating under these different conditions?
Sure, absolutely. I'm happy to do that.
Okay.
Okay, good idea. Any more questions for Mark?
Layla.
Okay, that one didn't work out. Okay, thank you, Mark. Let's move on to our Executive Director, John Posey.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, these obviously are trying times for us. We've had to cancel a lot of things. The 2 screening clinics that were scheduled were canceled. The one in Santa Fe, they were expecting over 500 people, and the one in Reading also was canceled, and they'll be rescheduled at later dates. The grant writer, Mike's going to talk a little bit about our grant writer a little bit later on, but just so you know, she's on board. We purchased the GuideStar data program for her to do research, and she's already started doing that. It may turn out to be a little different than what we expected given the current situation as far as these grants go, but we'll see. On our program advertising that we'd been collecting for our 60th, we were up to a little over $4,600 in donations. One thing, and I mentioned this in my report, we do have on the website now the capability of donating through the website by using a debit card or your credit card. John Huey and Leela worked on setting that up, and then John Schroeder got it on the website. A couple of us have used it, and it works really, really well. So that's something we ought to be talking to people about. It's just an easy way to make the donation, and you can print your tax receipts, whatever, out right from there. Last quarter, we received a little over $27,000 in donations, which is actually pretty good for the quarter because we didn't have any huge donations. Roughly a little over $15,000 of that came in memorial donations, so that was very good. We're actually doing quite well with Helen Kellers. We had, I believe it was 7 Helen Kellers last quarter. Actually this quarter, I think I already have 5 Helen Kellers in. And just as a kind of a interesting note, one of the clubs this quarter was Jackson. They're doing 3 Helen Kellers, so I went to look up how many they've done over the years. And Jackson actually has done 65 Helen Kellers over the years. So that's pretty significant. Mike wanted to cover the nominations, and I'll read those off. These are the nominations that went through in the January meeting. The trustees have to ratify that election. So I'll read off the nominations. Whoop, I got the wrong page here. The president is Leela Chen. Immediate past president Mike Rogalski. First vice president Russ Custer. Second vice president Dennis Meermans. Secretary Cliff Cooper. The treasurer is Pat Casey Gillum. So I guess, Mike, you'll need someone to move to ratify that.
We could have a motion from the floor, please.
Linda Wagner Griffin, I make a motion, we accept the slate as presented.
Need a second?
I second the
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you do it.
I'll second the motion then.
Putting down Al Kroll as the second.
Al Crow, I told you I thought it was. Yeah, there he is.
Okay. Okay. Everybody in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye. Yes.
Are there any negatives? Okay, motion passes.
All right, and the following trustees were elected. From A1, it was Russ Custer and Roy Patterson. C2, Jerry Price was reelected. C6, Linda Puglisi. 46, this isn't an election, but I'll throw it in so everyone knows. Don Watson replaced Steve Layden, who stepped down. And Don is going to finish Steve's term, which ends in June of 2021. Now, there's going to be one change that we have to make. Jerry Price has decided to step down because of ill health. So he's not going to continue on as a trustee. Jim Oswald is going to step up from the advisor slot and take Jerry's place. Jerry has requested that he be put in a position of trustee emeritus, which we'll address shortly. So those are the trustees. Mike?
Okay, do we need a motion on that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, could we have a motion, please?
I got a question.
Okay.
Jerry resigning immediately or in July?
Yeah, it'll be effective July 1.
Okay.
Makes a motion to accept the slate as presented.
Oh,
So that's
Linda,
Steve.
Okay.
Linda Wagner Griffin, I'll second it.
Did you see Steve?
Linda's second.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Do you want
Any
to
negatives?
vote?
Okay, motion passes.
And the new advisors from C2, Phyllis Rogers, John Smith. C3, Terry Dunham. C4, John Huey, and Vanita Young.
Miss Young,
Nisha.
turn off your video, they said.
Oh, that's a long way.
Mike?
Okay, do we need a motion on that?
Yep.
Okay. Could we have a motion from the floor to accept the advisors?
Make a motion that accept the advisors as read.
Is that Kelby?
Only when he's moving around. Oh,
We need a second.
I'll second the motion.
Yvonne?
Yes.
Don, okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any negatives? Okay. Motion accepted. I think that ends the nominations, right?
Right. And then we have the trustee emeritus status. There's 3 people. Phyllis Knightling, Jerry Price, and Jean Weatherby.
Okay. We need a motion.
Linda Wagner Griffin, I make a motion, we accept the 3, or the trustees emeritus as nominated.
We need a second.
Trustee Patrice, second?
Who's that, Curtis?
Yes, make a second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Negatives? Okay, motion passes.
Okay. Next, on the bylaws update, there's
Excuse
nothing.
me, John?
Yes?
So do we need to vote on Jim Oswald becoming a trustee?
That went in when we went back and we substituted him in to start Jerry Price's term.
Okay, so I'll put it with that.
Got it?
Yep.
Next, on the bylaws, there's nothing to really report. We've taken no actions. Next, on the wills and bequests. The last quarter, we took in $1,750. This was a distribution from the Drubblecott Trust. We currently are receiving $1,750 each quarter from that trust. The total we've received in wills so far this year is almost $14,000. Next on the meetings and arrangements. As many of you know, Jan Ahern has stepped down, but she still communicates with us a little bit. But the situation really is in flux and a lot of things are unknown with respect to our meetings right now. Currently, we're scheduled to meet in July in San Francisco, July 25th. I've talked with Mark a little bit about that meeting. We're expecting the hospital to more than likely indicate to us that we're probably not going to even if we could meet as a group, be able to use the hospital facility like we did last year. We'll update you a little bit more on that, but it's looking more and more like we may wind up doing another Zoom meeting, just like we're doing with this one. Right now, in October, we're scheduled for the 16th through the 18th at the Silver Legacy for the 60th. There'll be some discussion about that a little bit later on. We did have an executive committee meeting last week where we addressed that issue, and there's going to be a recommendation from that meeting to you later on during this meeting. As of now, I don't think we have any communication with the Reno people because I believe they've all been furloughed and we don't know when they're going to come back. We have a verbal agreement, or did have a verbal agreement, to meet next January at the Monterey Red Lion. And as some of you may recall, in Aptos, the Best Western new owners, prices went way up. So the tentative plan was, at least unless we found another place to do the January and the spring meeting in Monterey. That now also is up in the air because those people are furloughed, and we'll know more once it opens up. I have no idea what the cost is going to be for these, because when we had the commitment from the Red Lion, the January commitment was, I think, a $99 room rate, free meeting rooms, and they were going to keep the Saturday night meal for us at $38. So there's a lot of unknowns around that, and we'll keep you advised as we discover more information. Now, what we decided to do at the executive meeting was to open a Zoom account. So we're going to have a Zoom account that's going to be available to us to do all of our meetings going forward. I want to thank Linda for stepping up using her account so we can do this. So what will happen is we'll be able to use a Zoom account like we're doing here. We'll also be able to use that to do our committee meetings. So we can schedule those through me, and then we can set them up if we need to as we go forward. Now, I sent to all of you some statistics. I put together the stats for 2019 that you can have a closer look at. It's a summary from the whole year based on what Mark provided to us. And those are numbers that we use when we do the GuideStar information to get that platinum rating. And actually, those numbers were very, very good last year for us as far as the number of patients that went in there. I think that may have been either the second or third highest volume of new patients that we had about 200 surgeries. But if you have time, you should take a look at them. And particularly, there's a summary I put in there from when I started tracking it, which was 2015. And it's really interesting to look at the numbers, because we've actually doubled some of our numbers from 2015. 2016 was actually a down year in the number of the surgeries and I believe patient referrals. But when you take a look at what we've done, the surgeries went from 2015, which was 199, and in 2019 we did 245 surgeries. In 2015 we had 199 patients, new referrals. 2019 we hit 426, and actually this year we were on schedule to do the same thing. However, I think it's going to change because of the coronavirus situation. Numbers are probably going to drop, I would think, significantly this quarter. The laser procedures doubled from 2015. We did 111 in 2015, jumped to 230 in 2019. So the injections went from 515 in 2015 to 738. And the diagnostic testing, significant increase. We didn't have the numbers for 2015, but 2016, we went from 1427 to 3,075. So those are fairly significant increases over those years. And of course, it's good that we're reaching out to that many people, but also that increases our cost factor with these things as we go forward. But it seems to be working, this outreach we did to the clinics, because the numbers have really jumped significantly. And I think that's all I have, unless there's any questions.
John, when do you want to do the 60th anniversary motion?
Maybe we could do it right now, be logical.
Why don't we go ahead?
Can I interrupt one quick second on that? To take the vote, have the participants use the yes or no button, and that way you'll be able to say yes or no for the vote.
Hey, Darlene?
Yes.
Where's the yes and no vote? I apologize. I don't know where it is on my screen.
You have your participants up or raise your hand.
Participants?
So could you scroll down to the bottom of the photos, and a bar will come up?
Bottom of the photos?
No, go to participants and then
It says
you say
participants.
chat and invite.
I have
There are
participants. Okay.
Click on it.
Okay. You'll see either a yes, no button, or you may have a raise hand.
Got it. Sorry.
Chat box.
I apologize. I still don't see it.
That's okay. Or
Oh, I
John?
see it. I apologize. I see it.
Oh, I see it now.
I found it. I found it. Okay,
Mute
got it.
everybody.
Got it.
Hold on a second. There we go. Okay, Mike, you're unmuted. So is John.
Okay. John, do you want to do the motion?
Well, I thought Dennis had a motion that he was going to read on that.
Yeah, okay.
All righty. You can hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, the executive committee endorses the following motion. Whereas that the current coronavirus 19 pandemic is seriously affecting the mobility of the members of the Lions Eye Foundation, and that the demographics of the members of the Lions Eye Foundation are categorized as threatened by the coronavirus, and that the Centers for Disease Control, CDC, is predicting the nation will be hit by much harder by COVID-19 this winter, the executive committee, in an effort to safeguard the health and welfare of the Lions Eye Foundation membership, is recommending that the Lions Eye Foundation's 60th anniversary celebration, scheduled for October 16th, 17th, and 18th of 2020 in Reno, Nevada, be postponed until October 2021. The committee recommends taking this action at this point in time in order to be able to cancel contractual agreements with the Silver Legacy Resort Hotel prior to the July 15th, 2020 contract commitment date, and to put the 60th anniversary committee in a better position to secure hotel and meeting accommodations on a desirable weekend in October 2021.
Okay, any discussion on that motion?
My cat just jumped up and wiped out that whole motion.
Okay, the cat didn't like it, but okay. Hearing.
Excuse me,
any-
question
Yes.
question for Mariah. I'm noticing a lot of people are raising their hand. I think I don't think if you're on a touch screen, people need to know that if they just touch their screen, the participant will come up and that's where the yes or no is. I know a lot of people are questioning where to click, and I see a lot of people on iPhones and iPads. Just wanted to put that out there because I also don't think people are seeing the raised hand that is happening. But thank you.
It's a yes or no on the participant screen on the right-hand side. If you click on Manage Participants, you'll see a listing of everybody, I think. Is that correct?
Yes, but what I was saying, this is Mariah, is that if you're on an iPad or your phone app, it comes up at the very bottom if you touch the screen.
Okay.
I'm seeing a lot of questions about that in the chat.
I have a point of order. Can you hear me?
Yes, Fred.
Yes.
Point of order, there is a motion, and before there can be any discussion, there needs to be a second.
Okay, who wants to second the motion, please?
Christy Grohl, second the motion.
Who is that?
Christy.
Christy. So I'll put myself down as making the motion.
I'm going to clear all these hands so that once the vote comes up, everyone please do it again so we know that that's really what you want.
Okay, we've now had a second in the motion. And now any discussion? Okay, hearing no discussion, would you like to put your vote into the Zoom? Okay. Looks like we've got most people voting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Click on yes or no.
kind of an animal was that? Okay. Have we voted?
Looks like we have 26 yeses plus 4 hands up.
Okay, so that's
29.
30. Do we have any no's?
30. We have 30 that voted.
Okay.
Are you counting the, okay.
All right.
And
The
everyone
motion
can
has
vote.
passed. And so thank you for that. And we will schedule our 61st anniversary celebration in October of 2021. Okay. John Posey, do you have any more items?
No, that's it.
Okay, thanks, John. Appreciate that. Appreciate the good work. Ellen Jamieson, CEO of Pacific Vision Foundation. Are you on somewhere?
I am. I'm on.
Ellen.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
You guys see me? I can't see myself.
We see you.
Oh, okay. There, I found myself. Okay, good. Okay, well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for inviting me to participate in this meeting. I'll give you an overview of where things are at Pacific Vision Foundation. Very much like Lions, we've had, some good results, some challenges, and I'll leave you with a few thoughts of hope for the future. In terms of the successes that we've recently achieved since the January meeting, I know you've all met in January our clinical director of nursing, Laura Coleman, who's a fabulous addition to the staff, and she's very enthusiastic about running the surgery center. She's been terrific. As she may have said, I'm trying to remember exactly where we were at the end of January, but since then, we have completed construction of the surgery center. We've received all construction permits and permits for occupancy from the city of San Francisco, also from the Bay Area Air Quality Management District, which had been a stumbling block for bureaucratic reasons, that permission to or permit to operate the standby generator has been obtained. And we were able to get scheduled for an initial survey for accreditation purposes, which was scheduled for March 23rd. And obviously then the pandemic hit. So we were shut, so the accrediting agency, the Joint Commission, shut down, as well as all other agencies for accreditation. I'm sliding rapidly into the challenges part of my discussion. But before I say that, I want to give you an update before I give you some of the issues relating to COVID-19 that have affected the surgery center timeline. Wanted to make a few other comments on positive things that have been going on. Grand rounds are now being held by Zoom, and we have had better participation through Zoom than we have had historically by the in-person rounds, and that's because people from outside the area are now participating. Faculty members who might be in the East Bay or who have trouble getting to the Civic Center in time for them to get back to their clinic to see patients are now participating in the grand rounds, and we've had wonderful participation. Also, some doctors from the North Bay have participated, and even George Tanaka, he was on the last he was one of the faculty members on the last rounds on glaucoma. He zoomed in from Arkansas, where he recently moved. So the Grand Rounds part of the education has continued to be very well done and well received. This is important, obviously, because the volume of patients and the clinic experience certainly has changed in light of the COVID-19 situation. But the residents are putting a lot of work into their cases on the Grand Rounds, and that's going well. On the challenges side, the main thing I'll mention to you are the challenges that we've found with trying to get the surgery center open. As I mentioned, the Joint Commission put a hold on all accreditation surveys. Just to remind you what the process is that we need to go through. There's an initial survey, which we're ready for whenever things open up, where an inspector comes and essentially makes sure that the facility itself is appropriate for doing surgeries. Following a successful initial survey, there are 10 test cases that need to be performed, half of which need to be in the OR with anesthesia, and half of which can be laser procedures. And then thereafter, after 10 test cases, we need to be open 2 days a week and have 2 surgeries a week. So clearly we can't do opening for the surgeries or potentially the test cases until some of the restrictions in San Francisco have been lifted. But we can do the initial survey potentially any time. So we've gone back to look at other agencies that provide accreditation. We're evaluating whether that could move us up on the timeline. We prepared a second backup application just in case we could throw it into another agency, but we're finding that it's most likely not going to advance us. Essentially, everybody is shut down. So we continue to explore ways to advance the timeline. And we're, as you can imagine, it's a little bit hard to plan based on where we are. But I'm hoping that in May, things will start opening up and we'll be able to start planning a little better. We've also had challenges from the supply chain standpoint in the sense that we don't have enough PPE to open for business, but I guess we have time now to collect that. But for example, we only, the shipments of materials have been spotty. We've gotten partial orders as certain products were being redirected to more critical healthcare facilities. So all of that has been a challenge for us to deal with. We have, in the successes column, we have recently hired, actually just before COVID struck, sort of the end of February, we hired a new, a second nurse and a surgical tech, both of whom are very talented and experienced in ophthalmology surgeries. And they've been engaged in training and getting the surgery center stocked and ready for accreditation and then ultimately opening. In the meantime, what the surgery center staff has been doing is reaching out to the surgeons who have signed up to do their surgeries at the surgery center when we're open. And they're holding weekly lunch and learns where each surgeon is presenting something about their own specialty and how they like to perform surgeries. and it's open to the community of ophthalmologists who are involved in the surgery center. And it's meant to get the staff up to speed on the particular individualized preferences of each of the doctors. As you can imagine, the surgeons have very specific thoughts on how they like to perform their procedures, and staff and the surgeons are working together to accomplish as much of the initial learning curve as possible, and to get to know how each of them operate. Another sort of uncertainty is our symposium in June, the Barkan Research Symposium, where the residents present their research projects to the faculty. It had been scheduled for June 13th. My understanding is that CPMC has canceled the use of their conference facilities through that date. And so that's where we had been planning to hold that symposium. So we're waiting to see. I imagine that might end up being a Zoom-based symposium as well. And so some of the planning is underway to try to figure out how exactly to do that as well. Finally, a few words of hope. What I've been seeing here actually is people rising to the challenge and really feeling a dedication and clarity of their sense of purpose in doing what we are all here to do, our shared mission of bringing excellent eye care to all without regard to ability to pay. I see the residents and faculty coming together to find ways to enhance the education of the next generation of ophthalmologists. There are renewed connections. We've started reaching out to alumni of the program, and we're collecting stories about what they're doing during this pandemic. And we're putting together a special newsletter, and I'll be sure to, John, I'll get it to you in case you want to share it with the group. But we're learning of people who are, ophthalmologists in other locations who are volunteering to help out in the emergency department, have been helping out in the ICUs, are getting trained on using ventilators and other types of equipment that they normally wouldn't in their ophthalmology practice, but just stepping up to do the good work that's needed right now in these troubled times. So I think I know we're gonna get through this, and I think we'll get through it being even stronger. And I truly value the relationship that PVF has with Lions. Mark has been terrific. And I know we'll get through this and come out the other side feeling good about how we managed this unforeseen circumstance. So thanks again for all your support. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Ellen? Okay, Ellen, thank you so much. We really appreciate the relationship that we're developing with the Pacific Vision Foundation as well. So, and thank you for the notes of optimism. We need a few of those these days. So much appreciated. I had written down here break time after Ellen, but if you don't, do we need a break? Okay, let's take 5. Okay.
I'm gonna have to go. I got another place to be at about 11, so I'll say goodbye to everybody.
Goodbye, John. The restaurant.
Thank you.
Bye, John. Bye,
Hey,
John.
Mike.
Take
Mike,
care.
this is Steve here. I have to be somewhere else at 11 too, so I'll hang on for a few more minutes, but I have to drop off before 11.
Oh, okay. Well, when you drop away, we'll know that it's an excused absence. Thank you.
Past president exemplars can do that.
Yeah, there we go. I'm looking forward to my moment.
Dennis,
Yes?
during the meeting, I let 3 people in, Nancy Hansen, John Roebuck, and John Huey.
And Venetia Young.
Okay,
Welcome.
Nancy Hansen was already in.
Okay. John Roebuck.
So, John Huey and Venetia
And John Roebuck.
and John Roback.
I want to make sure they got, oh, look at that. She figured it out.
Good job.
You have to teach that to me, Lynn.
I understand someone has changed their marital status.
Everyone's on mute right now, Dennis.
Oh, too bad.
Not
I'll
me.
wait.
My marital status is the same. Despite the, for better or worse, but not for lunch.
Geez, a 5-minute countdown timer. Let's see, I wanted to. Dennis, are you on?
I am.
Okay. These meetings are slightly ragged in Zoom, but I guess maybe with a little practice, we'll get better.
Yeah, I think it's going pretty well.
Yeah, I do too.
Good.
Sometimes they tend to be a little bit shorter.
Especially if you're heavy-handed with that mute button.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it. Okay. Has Roger Dodge come on?
Not that I know of.
No.
Oh, hang on a minute.
Yep. Well, I don't know.
Okay, let's reconvene the meeting. I'm concerned about. Okay, we're ready to reconvene. Leela, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, it's your turn for the Budget and Audit Committee. And who's making that noise in the
Oh,
background?
hold on, I'm going to try and mute everybody.
All right, I'm learning to unmute myself here.
Very good.
Okay. Give me 2 seconds. Hopefully this will work. I'm going to try to share my screen. Okay?
Good.
All right. Well, maybe I don't know how to do it.
I'm not seeing it.
Okay, Leela, just go to the very bottom of your screen, and there's a little green box next to the chat box that says share screen.
Yes, I got that. And I'm trying, hold on.
And then you choose what you want to just double click or click it and hit share.
Okay. Can you see my slide?
No.
No.
Try and, did you hit the share screen? Click on what you want. Up, there it comes.
Okay, I'm seeing somebody else's screen, not my screen. John Posey, are you sharing someone? Okay, I see John
Okay,
Posey's email.
Yeah, so John needs to take his off.
I think it's John, Ralph.
I'm not seeing anything.
All right, we'll just do it without the Zoom screen, share screen.
Okay.
All right. I hope everyone has received copies of the budget proposal for fiscal year 2020 and 2021.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thanks, Esther. All right. The budget is in the amount of $681,850. That is approximately 2% higher than the budget for this current fiscal year. And most of the change is for CPMC. And that increase is $12,500. So that represents 4% of the increase in our budget. The total budget increase is only 2%. Okay. All right, so there's really not much change there. In terms of income, we are not receiving extra income. A lot of our funding is going to be from our reserves to offset the decreases in our various income sources. Bequests are going to be only about 1%, clubs about 12%, which is actually a little less than what we've been receiving in the past years. Donations 13%, fellowships we anticipate being about 4%. Fundraising is going to be a little bit higher this year at 4% because we're still hopeful that a Rocky Lombardi is going to occur. Grants are a typical $5,000 grant. Hopefully that's going to be higher also with our new grant writer. Most of our income is going to be either from our interest and excess endowment interest, which represents roughly $75,000, and a bulk of our income for the year is going to be from our reserves, which will be the equivalent about $366,000. Our investments and interest represent $65,000, which is a lot of our budget, and we need to somehow increase our income. That's always been our issue here with income. Program services going to be 79% of our budget. Admin is 4%, resource development is 17%. Really, we're not having much change in terms of expenses. Our issues is the income. Is there any questions, concerns about the budget?
Okay, I think we need a motion to accept the revised budget.
Mike, it's not the revised budget. This is the budget for fiscal year 2020, 2021.
Oh, good. We don't need a motion.
Well, we do need a motion to approve this budget so we can operate for the next fiscal year.
Got it. Okay.
It's a very simple budget. If I can make the motion that the 2020-2021 LEF budget for $681,850 as approved by the executive committee be adopted as presented.
I second that motion. Linda Wagner Griffin.
Thank you, Linda.
David Hoskins, did you have a question? You have a check mark.
Not that I know of. I don't know why that I was up there.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Thank you.
And I want, this is Linda Griffin. I want to make a point of order. I believe only trustees can vote. And and should be counted in all the motions.
Okay, well, let's proceed with an oral vote and see if we need to do a count. Any discussion on this motion for the budget as presented? Hearing no discussion, everybody in favor, whoops, everybody's muted. Can you unmute everybody? There we go. Okay, hearing no discussion, everybody in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any negatives? Okay, motion passes. Thank you, Leila. Anything else?
Nope, that's all I've got.
Okay, very good. Moving on to Pat Casey Gillum. Pat, are you there?
I'm here. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's a good day. I had 3 migraines this week and I don't have one today, so it's a good day.
All right.
Well, I hope most of you like the dashboard. I kind of changed a little bit to where it was all on one page. It's a little tinier than I'd like, but we can use our magnifying glasses if we need to. As you see, I talked about the cash first and our assets, and we are down and we are continuing, which is what we just passed as a form of a budget. My biggest concern is that becomes a regular and we don't look at new avenues for revenues, but I've been complaining about that since I came on board. So I think we just need to be real creative. I think we have time now to start about other ways to maybe even change the way we do things that are already in place, because if you continue to do it the same way, you will end up with the same result, and I'd like to see the results be better. As far as the revenues, John went over that pretty good. We actually did quite well this last quarter overall in revenues. Almost every one of them is up, with the exception of let's see here. Bequests, obviously that's our guess to budget, but Stanaways and club contributions. I wish there could have a magic wand as to how we could get the more clubs to participate. I don't know why the residence is there, and I really don't think it's the money. We just got to figure that out. I pray quite frequently about that to make sure that we can get that up. Expenses are basically the same and lower because of the fact that towards the end of the month there that we didn't have some of the patient expenses and what have you, but we have always been at budget or under budget on that particular area. The endowment is basically the same, and capital, obviously we don't have that one anymore. But overall for the quarter, we did really well until the stock market took a dump and we took $960,000 in unrealized losses for the quarter. When I talked to Eric, last week, things were up a little bit, but we're going to have not be able to get as much income from the sources that we had, and I think that's going to continue probably through the end of the year. That's it.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much, Pat. And I must say, I really appreciate the dashboard. Those of us who aren't really skilled at going through balance sheets really appreciate this summary. I think it's terrific. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's a big advance.
You're welcome. I use it in one of my other, and none of them are accountants or anywhere close to that, so they are very appreciative of it.
There we go. Okay. Well, thank you for that. Okay, Kelby, Investment Committee.
Well, it couldn't be any easier to do this report after coming in after Leila and Pat, because they pretty much outlined everything for us. It's been a tough quarter. March, Mike and I were sending emails back and forth as about the 7th of March when everything started going crazy, and I probably wrote 3 different reports for that March meeting that didn't happen because it was changing daily, and we just didn't know where to go. But yeah, we got almost $1 million in unrealized loss over this last quarter just because of March. And April is not getting any better. So I'll just echo the same thing, is that really we need to find another source of income, because we don't know how long this is going to go. And even the clubs aren't meeting right now. So trying to get those donations that we normally get from the clubs during this time of year, when it's the end of the year, is going to be difficult. It's going to be challenging for us. There's no doubt about that.
Okay, thank you, Kelby. Let me add a slight note of optimism. I'll tack on to what Ellen just said a while back about the Pacific Vision optimistics. Fidelity Investments put out a report on responses of the market after various crashes, and they went back, including the Great Depression in the 30s. And the optimistic note is that 1 year after the bottom of every one of those crashes, the market was back up an average of 47%. So let's hope that we're at least average when we come back from this little beauty, and that the three funds that we've invested in do what they've done in the past 20 years for us, and follow the market upwards, and maybe even do a little better. So let's hope that that indeed does happen. Okay.
Mike?
Yes.
Can I ask a question on the finances? I don't know who can answer this, but how much was the drop for the Wells Fargo?
I froze. There we go.
Wells Fargo, Investment Company of America, was 461,949.
So that was a drop there? Okay.
Yeah.
It was 19%, John.
All right.
And it was actually lower than that for a little while, but it recovered slightly. Okay, any other questions on budget, finances, investments? Okay, Marvin Miller, are you here?
Marvin?
Marvin, you there?
He was here.
Hold on. Okay, he's unmuted.
There he is.
Okay.
Good, good. Okay, Marvin, any further comments on the 60th anniversary or the advisors?
No, I tried Friday morning to make contact with somebody from the Silver Legacy. The three people I called, I got voicemail, and I think that's going to be the norm for a while. So nothing new to report.
Google Home isn't set up yet. To get started, download the Google Home app.
Okay, we need to mute Esther.
Please.
I did. I just did. It's mute.
If we can hear you, you're not muted.
That's the Google.
Now, Marvin, with our last, the motion that we passed to postpone, you'll have to get that to our contacts at Silver Legacy. I would suggest not only leaving voicemail, but send it off in writing.
Yeah, I would. Well, I think that's a good idea, and I'll send it return receipt requested.
Good plan. Okay. Okay. Did you want to talk about advisors?
Well, kind of going along with what Pat said about getting out and talking to the clubs, I would encourage the advisors to go out and have a face-to-face contact with the clubs, because as we proved in A1 with the one new club, and we didn't get Linden to come back on board, but they did make a $500 contribution to the foundation in exchange for a Melvin Jones, or I guess a Helen Keller.
Yes.
Yeah. But they still have another 500 to come up with. Is that right, John?
Yes.
Okay, so it puts it, it takes a little bit of effort, but to go out and have a face-to-face contact with the clubs, I think in the long run, it'll give us good returns.
Yeah. If I can just jump in for a second, Mike?
Sure.
To follow up on what Marvin just said, what happened with Linden is Marvin, Russ, and I went there, did a presentation, and then after the presentation, we received notification from them indicating that they couldn't afford it. However, they sent in $500 indicating they wanted to apply that toward a Helen Keller. And they're a large club, 150 people. But with that said, A1 and A2 have several huge clubs, anywhere from, I'd say 125 to 175 members who send in their donations every year.
Okay, very good.
Can I make
Anything
just a comment?
else?
This is Pat Gillum. The other thing that I ran across, I talked to one of our clubs here, and some of the fundraisers that they were going to have during this time, they're not going to be able to have this year. So their funds are even going to be down. Had we not changed our crab feed, we would have had to cancel ours at Modesto 500, but they moved us to February. And at the time we didn't like it, but we were thankful after the fact because it would have been on the 21st of March, which means we would have had to cancel it. So I think we need to be cognizant too of the maybe some way to help the clubs be able to defer their payments rather than leaving us all together simply because they don't have the money because they haven't been able to have the fundraisers that they normally have. I know some up in the foothills had to cancel theirs too, as well as Jackson, which is a big club.
Yeah. Okay, Marvin, did you want to talk about Duke?
Well, sure. Is Duke there? Duke's not on this conference call?
I don't know.
He was here.
He was.
Gentlemen? Okay, well.
Still not there.
Okay.
Well, I've been told that come July.
I was just unmuted. Yes, Duke is here.
Okay, good.
Okay. I've been told that come July, I'll be moving up from advisor to trustee, and which leaves the position that I hold vacant. And from what I understand, Duke has stepped up and is going to fill that position. A little bit of information on Duke. He joined Lions in 1991, the Ambrose Lions in Pittsburgh. He's currently a district governor. He's been a Lions Eye Foundation advisor for quite a few years and is well tuned into what we do and how we do it. He's in his third term as an advisor, so he's been well indoctrinated. He recently retired from Shell Oil, so he probably had a little bit of time on his hands, which is a good thing. Let's see, what else do I have here? I'm sure that Duke will do a good job filling that position and look forward to working with him. And if Duke's there, welcome aboard.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, great. It's good to have you on board, Duke.
Thanks, Mike.
You're welcome. Anything else on 60th or advisors?
No, all the little kinks that we had that we were working on, we've got those all worked out. And before they had a chance to send me an updated addendum, they were furloughed. So we'll keep after them and keep them appraised of what we're doing and why we're doing it. And I'll start talking to them about another date in 2021. The month will be October. That's what we're shooting for.
Yeah.
And it'll be in conjunction with our quarterly meeting that we usually have in Reno. So we're just kind of in limbo until everybody gets straightened out on this virus thing.
Okay, very good, Marvin. Appreciate all the work on that. Okay, moving along. Linda Griffin, fundraising, are you there?
I'm here. Anyway, fundraising, not a good time of the year, as we've all been talking about. The spring appeal letter has been written. Some letters have been mailed out. Thank you, Mark and John, and excuse my voice, for all the work. If anybody would like a copy of that letter, please contact me. You may know someone who wants to personally make a donation. Just 1 minute. I'm going to ask you to all keep collecting your change. Maybe we can do a virtual collection at the end of this meeting. I'm not sure. But I do have an idea for small donations. We're not meeting as clubs. So if you could take that money that you would have spent for your meal and donate it to LEF, either as a club contribution or a personal contribution. Just some numbers, I think that if all the advisors were to do that, maybe on every other month, because we do have other commitments, we could be raising approximately $1,500 a month into funding. I'm looking at an average meal of around $15. Most of us meet, excuse me, twice a month. And if if everybody on the board of the foundation would contribute, it would help. We hope that this doesn't go on for a long time, but we do hope that it may be something that we can do in the interim. And maybe even go back, if we belong to a club that usually makes a donation, fundraisers have been canceled, that we ask them for no additional donation also. And small amounts add up. And if we could collect any amount, it would be beneficial. So I'm going to send those ideas out and see where we go with it. Hopefully, we can do a fall appeal and get more, get the donations coming back in. I too look for an end to this crisis, and I just ask that everybody be healthy and be safe.
Linda, can I say something? I just saw a chat note from advisor Melinda Blaza that a check will be sent tomorrow in the amount of $1,564 that I solicited. Just need to fill the paperwork, and maybe Melinda can say something on that.
Oh, great.
Ah,
I unmuted her, but.
Melinda, are you there?
She's here.
She's here, but she's not talking.
Okay.
Well, I can go back as a chat and ask her also if that's a just a club basic contribution, or if it's going to one of our fellows. But thank you for the donation.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, Linda, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Is Russ Custer available? I hadn't seen him. I don't guess so. Leila, do you have the information on non-participating clubs by any chance?
Well, yes and no. I sent everything to Russ to handle for this meeting, so I haven't really looked at it then. But
okay.
What's going on? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. We have sent statements out in July or so. I'm on the wrong month. We sent statements out in March, end of March, and we've been receiving payments from many clubs over the last several weeks. So clubs have been honoring their commitment to LEF. So that's good. In terms of the ones who have not been participating, they're pretty much the same clubs from the previous meeting.
Okay.
Can I make a comment?
Yes, Fred.
This is Fred Summer. With a lot of clubs having to cancel meetings and fundraisers, like, for example, the crab feed, clubs are likely to be in a financial bind. Has Lions International done anything at all to either defer the dues that are due to them, or to reduce them, or to help clubs? Because if the clubs are in a financial bind, you will find more clubs not able to participate at the level that they're in now. And that's something to, it's not good news, but I think it's a sort of realistic expectation.
Yeah, good point, Fred.
I know that the LCI has sent a letter out suggesting that if you have any members that are financially in trouble, that the clubs work with them to defer their payment until December, so they cover their payment for them, and work out a payment plan. Don't let someone drop just because they can't afford it.
Okay.
And it should be a one-on-one thing. It shouldn't be something that you announce in a club meeting. But just, let them know that if they have a problem, to contact the president or the treasurer or the secretary, let them know what the situation is, and then they can make an arrangement for them. Let's keep our members.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Anything else on?
Mike, if I can interject for just a second.
You bet.
On the clubs, Fred Summer put together for us this Excel spreadsheet that I send all trustees and advisors at the end of each quarter. So you can look to see what your clubs are doing. And what that Excel spreadsheet shows is, one, if they've made their biannual contribution, but it also shows if they've made Helen Keller's, Stanaway's, or memorial donations. So that's one way for you to track in your district what's going on with the clubs. And then you'll be able to see how much is coming from your district and who the clubs are in your district who might be in trouble or not in trouble.
Okay. Thank you, John. And I really do hope that the lead trustees in the various districts are looking at those spreadsheets and making use of them.
Mike?
Yes.
What I'm going to do when this meeting is over, I will go ahead and send out the non-participating clubs for each district to the team, to the lead trustee for each district. Okay. Briefly, there are 2 in 46, 3 in A1, 3 in A2, 3 in C1, 6 in C2, 1 in C3, 4 in C, well, more than that. Okay, about 7 in C4 and 3 in C6. So I will send those out to the lead trustee.
Okay, great, Leila. Thank you for that. Lead trustees, I hope you'll take that opportunity to follow that up. Okay, let's move on to the grant writer status. Everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Our grant writer is Karen Oswald, and her contract was signed officially as of February 1st. She's toured the eye clinic. She's met with the program coordinator, Mark, and probably will again in the future. She will be attending the next quarterly meeting. And Mark, just as a heads up, she's interested in talking with you about the surgeries and eye care that are going on right now, many of which are probably under the category of emergency. And the only grants that the Sonoma County Foundation is granting these days are emergency grants. And Karen is tuned in with what they're doing, so that'll be one of the things that she'll be trying here very soon. And I'm looking forward to working with her. I'm optimistic as to how that's going to work out. Okay, anything further on grant writer? Let me move on to the Sunshine Report. I got a call from Roger Dodge at the break. Roger is our Sunshine Committee chairman. And he said that he is tuned in both on video and audio, but he can't speak from wherever in the world his house is. So I'm going to be reading his Sunshine Committee report. So this is from Roger Dodge. In these times of caution, disruption, and stress, it's difficult to find uplifting stories that bring us the warmth that we all need. But such an event has indeed occurred. Past President Exemplar Fred Summer is now a married man. There we go, Fred. Way to go. Shortly after Fred's very successful LEF presidential term in 2012 through 2014, he moved to a large, beautiful complex on a hill on the south side of Medford, Oregon. Several months ago, Fred noticed an attractive lady named Anne who lived in a unit within the complex. After considerable wooing and cooing, I'm reading this as it's written, Anne shyly said yes. Plans for a huge wedding were being made in early March for an April ceremony. Well, you can picture how that might have happened. Many relatives and friends were being invited from all over. Then the virus erupted and plans were changed. Fred and Anne were married by a priest with one witness on March 28th, 2020. The celebration will be postponed until it's safe to have a social gathering with friends and family. Let's hear it from all. Best wishes to Fred and Ann.
Yay.
Yay.
Way to go, Fred.
Can I make a comment on that?
I suppose.
A small correction. Ann and I met the first week that I was here over in the manor over 3 years ago. We became friends. So the wooing was actually very easy. But there were a priest, a pianist, and 2 witnesses at the wedding. And we had held a virtual cocktail party with the immediate family over Zoom that night.
Great.
The meeting was great. Some of you have met Anne. She was at the October meeting last year. And I'm a very happy man. And thank you for your great, great wishes.
Fred, it couldn't happen to a nicer guy. I really, I'm so enthused about that.
Thank you.
All right. Next up is new club applications. John Posey.
Yes, we received 1 new application. They're all paid up. It's the San Francisco Unified Club in C4. So we'll need a motion to bring them into the fold.
Okay, could we have a motion, please?
You'll have to unmute yourself if you want a motion.
I make a motion that we accept the San Francisco Unified Club.
Pat Gillum, second.
You're on the picture.
Thank you.
Excellent. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any negatives? Okay, the motion passes.
How many members do they have?
Congratulations to the San Francisco United Club.
Oh.
Unified.
Unified.
Oh. Yeah, I'm sorry. I wrote down unified and I can't read. Okay. Any other new business?
The question was, how many members are in that club?
Let me see if I have it. Off the top of my head, I don't have it, but I want to say it's somewhere between 25 and 30.
More than that.
It's higher.
Yvonne, do you know?
It's more than that. I believe it's 60 something.
Really?
It
Yeah.
is
Boy,
higher. It
how
is
quickly
higher.
I forgot.
I had of them.
Okay.
Oh, Nancy.
All right, very good. Well, the San Francisco Unified Club is now accepted. However many members it has, we welcome them all.
76 members.
Oh, terrific.
Wow.
Wow, okay, that's great. Any other new business? Okay, last item on the agenda is your president's comments. That's me. It's been a real privilege being president. This is my last quarterly meeting. And I must say that being president of the Lion's Eye Foundation is by far the highlight of my 20+ years of Lionism. This is an amazing, amazing foundation. It's got to be one of the best in Lionism. I was privileged to be president for several highlights. Let me kind of go through these. These are going to be brief, so don't worry. We did make the biggest donation ever from out of LEF, and that was to the Pacific Vision Foundation for the Ambulatory Surgical Center. That was facilitated by Ellen Jameson's clever Patient Assistant Fund. And we really look forward to that ASC starting up as soon as it can, and doing a wonderful job to treat our deserving Lions patients. That was a terrific highlight. Another highlight was a visit to one of our recent trustee meetings by Lions International President Dr. Chung-Yul Choi. That was facilitated by our Esther Lee, and we appreciate that. It was a real treat to have him attend our meeting, participate, give a talk, take a tour of the eye clinic, including the ASC under construction, and so a really great moment. At that same meeting was another one of my highlights, service anniversary gifts to Mark Paskman and Denise Barsness. That was for 25 and 30 years respectively, serving Lions patients under CPMC. And what was especially heartening to me was the vast majority of the trustees and advisors donating to those service anniversary gifts. It was really wonderful to see that. And then I guess another highlight in my presidency is conducting the first virtual trustee meeting. I didn't ask for this highlight. I didn't want it, but here we are, and we're doing the best we can. And I'm guessing this will be the first of several. Okay, personal comment. I really do appreciate the personal support and encouragement that many of you gave me when our house burned down with everything in it about 8 months before I started my term as presidency. And that encouragement and support was key to my staying with LEF. And once again, that's another factor that makes this one of the great foundations in Lionism. Okay, the next meeting hopefully will be in San Francisco on Saturday, July 25th, but I'm kind of thinking it might be doing it in the same way, and maybe we'll be a little smoother with this. I want to thank everybody who came to the meeting, participated. Those of you who are guests, I hope you were encouraged by most of what you saw and realize what a wonderful foundation this is. And I hope that many of you will want to join up with us. Okay, thank you very much, and signing off. Bye now.
Thank you.
Good
Bye,
meeting.
everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.
You guys.
Bye.
Stay
Stay
safe.
safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay.
Oh, Frank.
Right.
When did you get Frank?
I figured it out. Hi, sir.
Oh.
Hey,
Right.
I didn't know Frank was there.
Friday was his birthday.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Birthday.
so Mike, this is Dee Dee.
Yeah, Dee Dee.
I would just like to say, I think part of the reason you had all of these wonderful things happen this year is whether it was from just excellent leadership, divine intervention, a little bit of both. You were a fabulous president this year, and we really appreciate your efforts. And I think that's part of why all these great things happened during your year. So thank you.
Many thanks, Dee Dee. I do appreciate that sincerely.
Yeah.
Well, I think this went off really well. We'll just have to work on the share screen from other people. But